Howdy, this is Sailor the Piper Man, Piper the Sailor Man, coming to you from the Caribbean, from the island. In English, in Spanish, it's called Encanto, the island of enchantment. It's a beautiful island. I'm glad that I made my decision to come out and live here. It's always sunny, and yeah, we deal with tropical storms. But that's part of nature, right? And if you're a nature lover, you're going to love everything that comes with it. And I want to talk about two pipes. One that I recently bought, and another one that I've had for quite a while. One is called the Norte Rossi pipe. It's a small pipe. It's not a fancy pipe, but it's a wonderful smoker. The next couple of videos that I'm going to make, I'm going to talk about pipes for smoker, for smoking pipe. There's a big difference between something that you're going to look at, something that's going to lift up your ego and you're going to make a statement around other people as to how great your pipe is, like a Dunhill. I tend to like classical pipes. I tend to like Vulcanite stems, even though this is not Vulcanite. Not that I don't think so. I've had this quite a while, and I can't tell the material for some reason. But the Rossi company is dear to my heart. One of the great early manufacturers of mass-produced pipes. Savinelli makes this, and I'm telling you right now, I think this one is better than the regular Savinelli line. And I have a Vulcan blend, Macedonian with Latakia, Oriental tobacco. And it seems this is going to, I'm going to designate this from now on my Vulcan blend pipe, because the Oriental tobacco makes it a slow smoking pipe. I can clench it. Thank you, sweetie. How was your day? Huh? Who? Who died?
A guy that had just retired vehicle. He had a massive cardiac infarction about.
Okay, sorry to hear that. My wife just came and bring me coffee. She just arrived from work, and you know, death is part of life, right? And her co-worker passed away, the nurse that worked in the VA hospital. And it's sad to hear that, because nurses work very, very hard. And they put themselves in harm's way just as much as a military personnel or first responder. And so she's a little sad. And I understand that. So I give her her space. And that's important, that in a marriage that you give yourself space. And hopefully, if you have wives, she gives me my space. Smoking for me is a necessity. When you've had post-traumatic stress disorder, for a long time I wasn't diagnosed until finally I submitted myself to tests. Sometimes you're in denial, especially when you think you're the type of person that you like to be in control. You like to deal with things, deal with issues. And then it came to a point where I couldn't sleep anymore. I had anxiety, I had stress, anger. I was angry at the government. I was angry at things that happened, at the politics. I was letting outside things and things in my memory, in my past, in my military, because when you're in the military, you begin in boot camp, right? And you're in a stressful environment. You're in an environment that you're being told to do this, to do that. This is how you have to work. I had to used to read huge manuals. I had to conform to a different structure that I was used to. And so that all leads, and then the stress of going to war, leaving your wife behind, leaving 2 kids behind at the time, it is a stressful situation. Now, you're under that stress for many years. I retired military. I retired as a chief petty officer. So you're constantly having to being responsible for others, making sure you did something the military way. And so all that coming to being led to post-traumatic distress disorder and being in harm's way and what you see and what you do. And so when somebody tells me they've passed on, I don't see it the same as a military personnel passing on. Military personnel constantly puts in harm's way. But registered nurse, they did to my heart, because oftentimes I go to the VA hospital and I see the hard work, and they help veterans that are there for all kind of reasons. Drugs, post-traumatic, they become bipolar, they have injuries, amputation, internal injuries, mental illness develops, and so their nurses are there constantly. And my wife works at night. I give her space, and she knows my diagnosis and that I need this. Do you know when somebody tells you they need something? So for me, when I smoke, it's just not a fad. It's not to role play or to look good with, oh yeah, I got a pipe and I'm doing this endeavor. It's not a hobby, though. I make it sometimes a hobby, buying, collecting different pipes, because I love the pipe world and I love all the presenters, and I really like this atmosphere because the whole atmosphere is conducive to my health, and this is what the government doesn't understand. That being said, I wanted to talk about this pipe, and I'm sorry that somebody passed away, but people pass away all the time. And so you have to live in the moment. What matters is now. Right? Why worry about tomorrow? You don't even know if we're going to make it tomorrow. So today's the day that I smoke, that I enjoy life. And when you've gone through things, and you come on the other side and you go, wow, I didn't even think I was going to be alive in my 30s, and I'm here. And so every moment, everything everybody says to me, I hear them. I'm not faking hearing somebody. When you say something, I'm going to hear you. I'm going to look at you. You're a human being. It might be the last time I ever see a person. So I'm very focused and very cognizant of how precious life is. That being said, I want to light this in memory of life, living life, enjoying life. I've learned to appreciate people and cultures different than my own. I remember the time I was in Marseille, walking around. I didn't understand all the culture, But I was looking, it was lunchtime, and I was looking for a place to eat. And I was in the marina. Marseille has a beautiful marina with very expensive ships, and all kinds of stuff happens to that. I can just talk about Marseille's marina alone. How drugs come in and go out, and hashish, and rich people come, tourists come. It's a world unto itself. Marseille. It's one of the most ancient harbors in all of France. So I found myself walking around. I wasn't going to tell the story, but one thing leads to another. And I'm talking about life, right? So I'm walking around, I'm seeing this beautiful harbor, these beautiful expensive ships. And usually it comes to life at nighttime. They have a lot of taverns and things like that. But it was noontime. And I was walking around trying to find something to eat. So I'm walking down and I'm looking at this beautiful restaurant. It was outdoor, like an outdoor cafe, but it wasn't open. So I got to the window and I'm peering in. I'm trying to find the time when it's going to open up. And there was this elderly gentleman, Frenchman. He sees me. He sees that I'm in my uniform. I'm in my Cracker Jacks. And he was a young boy in World War II. Later on, we began discussing his life, my life. But I was at the window trying to find out if I can catch something to eat. So he comes and he opens the door and he speaks in English. I went, "Oh, you speak in English?" He was wearing a waiter's thing. Now, at the time, I didn't know he was the owner. And he goes, "Can I help you?" I says, "Well, you know, I'm American and I'm trying to find something to eat. And I forgot that in France, during lunch is like a siesta." And he goes, "Yes, it's closed. Everything is closed." I was like, wow, you know, I said, if I can just get bread, cheese, and a table wine. He says, "I'll be right back." So he closes the door and I'm like, well, that was rude. I'm not going to rob him or anything. He goes to the back. He had the chairs on top of a table. He breaks it down. And I'm looking into the window, into the restaurant. He sets the table, puts a white cloth. He puts a bottle of wine on the table. He takes out this white cheese that I really enjoy. I said, "Oh, what is he doing?" And then I realized he takes like a whole bunch of different breads for me to try. And he invites me in. He goes, come in. So I go into the store. It's really beautiful, smells great, smells like pine. And he closes the door behind me. And he goes, "Come, sit. It's okay. Let's bond. It's okay." So I come and I sit. I said, "You didn't have to do this, you know." So he goes, No. I understand. I was a child in World War II. And I'm very grateful for America. So he must have been in his 70s. This was 1986, 85. Y'all was in Marseille. So I sit there. He said, "I'll be right back." He opens the bottle of wine and he watches, observes if I know how to drink wine, and I did. I had bought a couple of wine books. I was interested in wine connoisseur and different type of, right? And when I looked at the wine, it was not a table wine. It was some Chateau LeBlanc or something like that. And it was a white wine. And he sits there. He says, "You don't mind?" He sits there, he was watching me. He pours the wine. he has a knife. So I cut a piece off the cheese, and I had the bread. Right? And I begin eating smoking. I said, would you join me? He goes, oh, me? Yeah. He goes, grabs the glass, he comes back, and he sits there. I said, can you get cheese? He goes, it's expensive cheese. I said, don't worry about it. Yeah, plenty of money. Take, drink, stay with me. This is my first time in France, and it's really beautiful, and I'm enjoying myself. Really? He says, yeah, I walked from Marseille. I kept walking to the next town. He says, you walked all that? I says, it's a 10-mile walk. There was a beach, and there was a road, and France kinds of curves. And I'm watching, and I told him, he goes, I was walking, and I grabbed my pipe, and I began walking. He says, you almost walked to the Cannes, to the Riviera. I said, I didn't know. And then what I did is I needed to get back to Marseille, so I took a bus going back, and I came back to Marseille. And he says, you smoke pipe? I go, yeah. He goes, I smoke pipe too. I says, can we smoke here? I said, of course, you can smoke pipe here. He runs, little chubby guy. You know who he remind me of? The short, stubby guy from Taxi. Who did a couple of movies after. I keep forgetting his name. Real funny, comedic guy. And he has this nice pipe. It's a German pipe with the top, silver top on it, and little chain on it. And he's looking at me. I go, oh, okay. So I have my kit and open up the pipe. And I had, what did I have? I had 2 blends. I had a Nat Sherman blend. A New York Nat Sherman was a store. They had a specific. I had that blend, and I had something that Middleton put out. There was a regular, original blend that Middleton had put out. And he looked at them and said, Nat Sherman, never heard it. He took it. He smelled it. Oh, it's Balkan blend. Nat Sherman had a Balkan blend. So he takes some, I take some. He light up with a match. He saw me light up with a match. Then I asked him, St. Claude, how far is it? Oh, it's north. It's close to the Pyrenees. And he started mentioning that. Says, I want to go one day to St. Claude. He was telling me about the pipe makers. He didn't talk about the pipe. He talked about the pipe makers. In France, I realized the pipe makers were more important than the pipe. That's interesting, right? In America, we talk about pipes. They talk about pipe makers and the briar cutters. You're more famous if you know how to cut briar than if you make pipes. The briar is the essential, and the briar is of most importance to them. What location they come from. So he looks at my pipe. He goes, "You got Algerian briar." I go, "Yeah, you're right. It's Algerian briar." He says, "Mine's. It's not from here. It's from the island of Corsica. The briar." Then we began talking. Show me a good time. And I'm sitting there, looking out the window, and outside the window were cafes, people walking by. and he's talking to me in French and in Spanish. He was telling me everything that happens in, the life, how it was in World War II. I said, my uncle was in World War II. He began telling me some stories, man. The majority of them I have forgotten. But he was really, really telling me how terrible the Nazis were. Raping women. And he said his two uncles and his father was killed, and his uncles were part of the French resistance. And he was telling me what helped us was pipes. He says for some reason they never, he says, I never understood why we never ran out of tobacco. And I began thinking about it. I said, go figure. You would think you run out of tobacco. Then I remember, I said, you know what? I know why. He goes, why? It's because it used to be issued. The British used to be issued tobacco during World War II, pipes and tobacco. Dunhill and other companies would give the soldiers an allotment of cigarettes, tobacco. How much it was? My uncle was telling me about that. And he goes, I said, you could probably, your father and your uncles and your family probably traded wine for tobacco or something. He says he could remember. He was like 8 years old, 9 years old. He says, I remember we never ran out of tobacco. We never ran out of pipes. Food was hard to find. But they would trade their wine for like MREs, food rations. Even with the Germans. Because, the Germans wanted wine, and Germans always had pipes and tobacco, and the hardest thing was to find was cigars. So really. So I had a wonderful time in Marseille. And most of the pipes were classical pipes, He says after the war, everybody smoked pipes. After World War II, he says there was a period, like from 1955, the war ended in 1945, 46, but he says by 1955 to 1965, he considers that the classic period in France. They smoked, everybody smoked pipe, women smoked pipe, everybody smoked pipe. Look at this one story. You notice this? This is a great smoking little pipe. Classic. You see it, it says, it's Rossi on it. Lots are great to smoke, and I'm smoking Bolton Blend. This is my Bolton Blend pipe. Well, I say the pipe, and my pipe is ending with a small story of a man who's gone. But he left that wonderful memory of just being a nice person. When I think of the French people, and I think of places, I think of Marseille, that cafe, the cheese, the wine, and the bread he served me, and just talking, having a conversation with the owner. I wonder if his family owns it. I wonder if it's still there. You know, I've been to so many places. But when you say France to me, I think of Marseille. Say to the Piperman, Piper to say to man, have a wonderful day. You're here now. We don't know about tomorrow. Smoke up and be merry. Au revoir.